Dr. R. Khan Saab, thank you very much for giving the opportunity to discuss with the students and the faculty members. I can see all the students, very, very encouraging students. I can see the lot of energy is there and they want to learn. That is very good. On the holiday, I think, 73 students, faculty members and others, they have joined. It shows commitment, how much interest the students and the faculty member have. So anyway, we start with the presentation. The presentation, as you all know, is on ideal laboratory. I will just open this. Here. As you all know, that as far as the homeopathic pharmacy is concerned, there are many laboratories. There can be laboratory for testing of physical material. What you call, we have a government national test house where they test the cement and other material. There is a food laboratory which tests the quality of food, and there are the pharmaceutical laboratory. I think we are more interested to know about the pharmaceutical laboratory where the pharmacy students are the BHMS students. They learn basic pharmacy about that. So as you all know, that to set up the quality control laboratory, there can be quality control laboratory also. There can be laboratory for R&D purpose also, and there can be a laboratory for QA also. You all know that there is a GMP in homeopathy, Schedule M1. So in that, there is a quality control department also there, quality assurance department is also there. And before that, you also know that whenever we prepare any medicine, that is the basic medicine is mother tincture, in homeopathy. So the raw material for mother tincture is your plant material, So plant material, if you have to identify in the laboratory, then there are many aspects. First aspect is the macroscopy, what you call the organoleptic characters, then microscopy, then phytochemical analysis, and others. In phytochemical analysis, you come across, the UV analysis, any color reaction, or the TLC, thin layer chromatography. So it all depends what type of laboratory we want. And in pharmacy, and if you want to open an industry or the industrial pharmacy, then you should have a first quality control laboratory where you test the raw material, because it is very simple that you cannot make a good product from a poor raw material. So how to select the raw material? I will give you one example. I do not have slide here right now, but I want to tell you some extra things. That, for example, ipecac. When we prepare a mother tincture from ipecac, it is very important for us to find out whether the ipecac it is a real plant, the root or not. So the macroscopic characters shows that there are annual rings. For example, again, to make you more simpler, Rolfia serpentina, which is called sarpagandha. The root is like a snake. So on the basis of macroscopic characters, you find out whether the plant, the root looks like what is mentioned in the pharmacopoeia. Secondly, after the macroscopic characters, you go for microscopic characters. So as I told you, in ipecac, you get the crystals, that is needle-like crystals, acicular crystals. Then you get the compound starch grains. So these are all the microscopic characters. That is why here we have shown you the microscope. So the purpose of showing the microscope is this, that there is a mention in the pharmacopoeia that there are certain characters which has to be seen under the microscope. So there are different, the purpose of the laboratory is to what we want to do. It is not, there cannot be general laboratory. You have to find out and you have to think that what laboratory you want to do and what laboratory you want to set up. So here, as I told you, it deals mainly with testing of homeopathic medicine based on the concerned pharmacopoeia. What is pharmacopoeia? Pharmacopoeia is, it is a standard book published by the government of India, which shows the standards. As you know, there is a BIS standard, ISI, what you call. So same way, you must have taken that medicine also, crocin, in that is written IP, that is Indian Pharmacopoeia. So same way, Indian Pharmacopoeia is for allopathic medicine, and HPI, Homeopathic Pharmacopoeia of India, is for our homeopathic medicine. So that is why it is very important. If you want to test or if you want to have a quality control, what should be the standard? The standard is mentioned in the second schedule of the Drugs and Cosmetics Act. And in that, it is mentioned that anyone who wants to make a medicine, he has to follow certain standards. So what standards is follow? The standards mentioned in the HPI. As I told you, IPCAR, the first they say that the root should have a annular rings. Then if you do the microscopy, you should have the acicular grains. Then you have a compound starch grains. So like that, these are the methods, and the ideal laboratory is the one which has got the facility to test all the parameters which are mentioned in the pharmacopoeia. So now, secondly, this is the definition of the laboratory. I'm sharing this, I already shared with the Dr. Kant. You will have the presentation with you, but I want to tell you something more than what is mentioned in the slides, basically. So it is a facility used for testing of raw material and finished product. You see, laboratory, as I told you, there is a QC department, then there is a QA department, and then IPQC. So the raw material, whenever you have either in the laboratory or in the factory, the first job of the person who is in the laboratory is to test the raw material. So after the raw material, they prepare the mother tincture, as you all know. So mother tincture, there are two methods in the HPI, percolation and maceration. So once they prepare the mother tincture, then they have to test as per the pharmacopoeia. So in pharmacopoeia, there is a mention of the raw material and there is a mention of the finished product. In finished product, they say that first of all, alcohol percentage. What is the alcohol percentage in the mother tincture? Then total solids, pH, then TLC, UV studies. So that will come later on in our next few slides. So, but again, when we are saying that we are using alcohol.
Sir, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I request you to share your slide once again because it was interrupted.
Which one?
Your slide, please. Your presentation, please. Once again, can you share it?
Okay. Can you see the slide?
Not yet, sir.
Can you see the? Can you see the slides, please?
No, sir.
Dr. Aisha, you present your sir slide, and sir will explain about that.
Sir, I'm presenting from my end.
Okay, just a minute. Just a minute.
Okay, sir. Yeah.
Now it is there?
Now, sir. Sir, it's visible now.
Visible now there.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Please go ahead.
So as I told you that how to set up an ideal laboratory. So the purpose is, first of all, you have to find out what we want to do. Whether we want to have the quality control laboratory, quality assurance laboratory, or a laboratory for the food. See, here we are just restricting ourselves to the laboratory related to homeopathic pharmacy. So when we say homeopathic pharmacy and we say the laboratory, it means we have to have some standard. So what is standard? How we are testing the drug and how we are, testing any material. So there should be some standard, So what are the standards? That standards are mentioned in the second schedule of Drugs and Cosmetics Act. And that act says that you have to follow the Homeopathic Pharmacopoeia of India. If not in HPI, then HPUS, VHP or GHP. So fortunately, our pharmacopoeia, Indian Homeopathic Pharmacopoeia of India is well documented, and it is recognized by almost all the countries. And it covers more than 1,000 drugs. And if in that, as I told you, we have, the parameters like the macroscopic filters of the plant. As I told you, the mother tincture is prepared from the raw material. So the raw material standards, raw material identification is given in that. And after the mother tincture is prepared, the mother tincture that is called the finished product standards. That is also mentioned in that. So how to test all these things that we will be, discussing in our next few slides. So first of all, one should know what is the definition. And as I told you, that the presentation is already with the Dr. Khan Sahib. So he will share you. I will tell you something more than what is given in that. So that is the facility used for testing of raw material and finished product. So as I told you, the raw material and finished product, it is the responsibility of the quality control laboratory. And now the GMP, they say quality assurance. Quality assurance means, that you have to test right from the raw material to the finished product. So it is a very simple thing that you cannot make a good product from poor raw material. So it is very important that even, in our laboratory, in our college, when we make mother nature for our, research purposes, it is very important for us to find out whether the raw material which is we are using is genuine or not. So how to find out that? That is also, you have to take the help of the pharmacopoeia. Secondly, laboratory units may include, there are many, work areas. Then you need to have a storage rooms, and you have to have spaces and, laboratory units, different. That also, we will be covering in next few slides. Now, as I told you here, the laboratory must be legally authorized. Now, when we have any laboratory, when we give a report, we cannot give report until unless it is being authorized by someone. For example, every state has got, we call it PTL, Public Testing Laboratory. So the license of which is being issued by the state government, the local FDA. In Maharashtra we have FDA. In other states they have only drug department. And all know that HPL, Homeopathy Pharmacopoeia Laboratory, now which is called as PCIMH, is called an appellate laboratory. What is appellate laboratory? It is like a Supreme Court. The decision given by the appellate laboratory, the decision given by the PCIMH cannot be challenged by anyone. So legal status is very important. Suppose, example, if I test any drug in my college or in my this thing, and I say that it fails, it has no value, because until unless you have a status that yes, you can test the drug. So what we have in our laboratory is just for education purpose, that to tell the students that these are the facilities, these are the equipments, these are the machineries, these are required for testing of a drug. Then laboratory must carry testing in collaboration, validation, and other technical activities. And we should have a GLP. As I told you, we have a GMP, good manufacturing practices for manufacturing of a drug. So same way, in our Drugs and Cosmetics Act, for allopathy, they have mentioned the GLP. But again, in Schedule M1, they have also mentioned what should be the instruments, machinery, equipment required for quality control laboratory. Then laboratory shall have qualified manager. You see, as you know that, we have to test the drug botanically also and chemically also. So one should have one person who has the experience of chemistry. And that is why Rule 85E, they have said that it should be BSc with chemistry, botany, zoology, pharmacy, or BMHS graduate, so that they understand the basics of the chemistry, the basic of botany. Because we have few drugs which are of zoological origin, microbiological origin. That is why they have mentioned it should have either zoology also, or chemistry, or botany, or this thing. So this is just, for you to understand this thing. Then criteria for personnel. Then staff in the laboratory shall possess necessary qualifications, as I told you earlier. A training record. Now, you all know that training is very important. Why so? Because every time, you get, new instruments, new parameters mentioned earlier. If you see the pharmacopoeia, 1971, the first pharmacopoeia came. In that, if you see the testing, it is only the macroscopic and macroscopic. And after the fifth volume, they mentioned about the percentage of alcohol, total solids. Then after 1995, they mentioned about TLC, UV analysis, something like that. So that training is required to update the knowledge. And secondly, you have a new instruments. So new instrument, how to operate that new instrument, until unless you are trained, you cannot, find out, you cannot do it properly. Secondly, adulteration starts, it is a trend that, when the demand supply is there, when the demand is more, the suppliers, they start adding adulterants. So how to identify adulterant? That is required when you have a updated training. Example, I will tell you, the alcohol. The alcohol which we get, you must be knowing that now most of the companies, they write ENA, extra neutral alcohol. ENA is nothing, but it is same alcohol, but it is free from aldehydes, ketones, fusel oil, like this thing. Okay, so these three impurities, they create a problem. That is why in our alcohol, monograph, if you see the alcohol monograph in volume 9 or 10, it is mentioned that you should be free from all the three impurities. So these impurities you can test only with the GLC. There are different instruments and different ways to test all these things. So the monographs are updated. So when the monographs are updated, if the training is not there, the students, the persons who are working will not know what are the new, parameters which have been incorporated. Secondly, ensuring the quality control and maintenance document. It is very important that you have to maintain the document. As GMP says, what you do, you document, and what you document, you do. Same way, in our laboratory, whenever we take any data, that should be documented properly. When, who has done it, what instrument he has used, whether that instrument is validated or not, calibrated or not. That all calibration, validation we'll see in the later on. But since you are the first year students, you must know basically that whenever we take, for example, we are taking pH of any mother nature. So first of all, it is very important for us to know whether that pH meter is calibrated or not. That the probe is always kept in the water. So is it in dry state or it is kept in the water? Secondly, if it has been calibrated, when it was calibrated, there is a procedure that for every instrument it has to be calibrated either daily. Some instruments are calibrated daily, some instruments are calibrated weekly, some instruments are calibrated after 15 days. So that that document, because whosoever will come for audit, he will see the record of all the instruments and machineries. Whether that, for example, you go and buy cloth, 1 meter cloth. So it is not that I say this is 1 meter. There is a measurement. They keep one rod. Like that. In it is mentioned that this is 1 meter. So if you want 1.5 meter, so they cut it accordingly. So there should be some standard parameters, standard instruments and calibrated thing. For example, you go to buy vegetables. Some people have got weights 1 kg, and mostly I have seen they keep the half brick or something like that. So it is equal to half kg. So that there it works. But in an instrument, in a laboratory, especially in pharmacopoeia, in the pharmaceutical industry, it doesn't work. It has to be half kg means it should be 500 milligram, 500 gram. It cannot be 499 or 500 gram. So how the calibration is done, that is all comes with the what you call the proper documentation. Then planning and organizing the audit. So you may do anything, as you have audits in the colleges. Your principal, your directors, they sometimes see whether the students are studying or not. They do audit. They ask the students. They ask the teacher what has been taught. Then they verify with the students. So these are the way to audit whether the system which you are doing, quality system, what we call it is quality management system. The concept has changed. Now they say quality management system means it is the system which works. It is not the individual. So today, for example, A person is working. And today a person leaves the organization and B comes. So there, whatever records are there, he has to follow that record. That is a quality management system. There is a system. That system he has to follow, because he cannot start working from his own whims. So that is why it is say the system is more important than the individual. Individual in any laboratory or any industry or any college, the teachers they come and go, but the syllabus, how to teach, what to be taught, and what are the reference books they have to cover. So that is all mentioned in the quality management system of the college. So same way in the laboratory, you have a quality management system, that which instrument you have to use, what parameters you have to test, and how to test. So that is all given in the quality management system. So that is why very important. And then investigation of technical complaints. See, R means ERR is a common, being. Any person who works will commit a mistake. So committing mistake is not a problem, but how to investigate that complaint which comes. So where we have gone wrong. So if we know where we have gone wrong and what we have done wrong, then only you can correct yourself. If you do not know that you have gone wrong at a particular place and you have done something wrong in a particular process, then you will continue to do the same mistakes. So it is very important that whenever we get any complaint, we should investigate and we should know, yes, this is the place where we have committed a mistake. So that that helps you to improve. If you do not have an audit and if you do not investigate the complaint, it means if you गलतियों को आप ढांक दोगे ना तो वो मल्टीप्लाई होगी. So same way, it is very important, and as and when you get a complaint, it should be investigated. You should find out whether it is a fault of a man or a system or an instrument or a machinery, and you should try to rectify. That is why, in US FDA, they have developed a system called CAPA, corrective action and implementation. If there is something wrong, they immediately correct it, and then not to repeat that same, mistake, they do the preventive preventive action. So now the layout of the laboratory. It is very important that how you design and construction laboratory floor space, corridors, floor spaces, and environmental controls. Now, it is very important, when we go to the laboratory or we have a laboratory, it should, it should design in such a way that it prevent entry of insects. Because, places everywhere, that, the rainy season is going to start. You will have a lot of flies, lot of, contamination, rodents, and, the lizards. So all these things should not be present in the laboratory. So usually the fly catchers and other things, they are kept in this thing. And the walls shall be smooth and should be free from cracks. That is very important thing. And adequate provision that you can all, go through the slides. That how to have the walls, floors, and the ceiling of the lab is very important. It is not that, the ceiling is like that, there are cracks and, every day something falls from the roof and something is falling from this thing. So if contamination is there, contamination is not only microbial, it can be any part of the, the cement material. If falls in your test tube or in your, beaker, that may change the value of your testing material. So it is very important, that is why they have mentioned how should be the wall, how should be the adequate provision, how should be the mechanism to prevent, the insects and other things. Now, the furniture is also very important. It must be cleanable because, you have to have acids also, you have to have the alkalis also, and other chemicals also. So the design and construction should be such that, there should not be corrosive, it should not corrode, and unnecessarily it should not, spoil the top surface of the working bench. Now, bench tops, as I told you, must be impervious to water, resistant to heat and chemicals, and disinfectant that may be used in the laboratory. Now, usually you have seen on the right hand side, these are the laboratory patterns, and that is why earlier, as I told you that bench top should have curved edges. The purpose is just that you should not, you hurt your finger or hurt your hands, basically. Now, design and construction of laboratory hand washing. Hand washing is very important, must be provided in each room, the laboratory where procedures including waste and handling are performed. The area should be dedicated to hand washing only and kept separate from the sink. And the running water must be available because you never know that, if you have any burns or you come across with the acid contact. So it is not that you have a water for 2 hours. You should have continuous water. Then water again, is very important. When we say water, if you see the pharmacopoeia, they say they categorize water into potable water, purified water, water for injection. So what we get in our municipal corporation is a potable water, which is rich in chlorine, which is good. If you ask me, from a microbial point of view, it is very good because it has a lot of chlorine, so it does not have a bacteria. But if you want to do testing of any chemical, then you need to have purified water. The purified water, if you see that it is mentioned, the monograph is there in the pharmacopoeia in 8th or 9th volume. So that you can see that there is a conductivity, there is a total solids, and everything is mentioned in that. And it should be free from E. coli, Salmonella, Pseudomonas, and Staphylococcus. So purified water is always used for any test. For washing, you need a potable water. But again, if you want to do anything, any test, or if you want to dilute the alcohol from the strong alcohol to dispensing alcohol, then you need a water. That water to be used is purified water. Then, if you want to mix that for preparation of mother nature, every mother nature is not 98, 97%. There are mother natures which are 60%. Alcohol percent is there. Alcohol percent is 60%. Somewhere in 85%. So that way also, in that that water which water you will be using. You cannot use a tap water. You need a purified water. So we have a, the system, RO system is there, by which, you can have the through reverse osmosis or the ion exchange, whatever method you want to do, but it should meet we call it demineralized water, but the demineralized water is there, but you have to meet out the standards of the purified water. That is very important. Then electrical supply, it must be sufficiently stable to sustain the laboratory equipment. If you have taken a load of, for example, 2 kg, and your instruments, for example, you have O1, and that O1, consumes, more power, and you have some, other machineries. So there will be a lot of supply problem. So it is very important that how much load you have taken, and there is a continuous, supply. It is not like, in many states, like, for example, UP or other places, Bihar, where you don't get a supply for you get supply for a few hours. So then you have to have some system, generator or something like that, so that you can have continuous supply. And then there should not be variation in the frequency. Otherwise, that instruments, that get damages. Then laboratory floor space, as I told you, it should be very clean, and there should not be, any material. If it, as it falls, the corrosion should not be, take place. This is again the doors and the other things, how it should be. You can see on this thing. If it is better, it is always mandatory. Also in the corridors and doors, that there is an emergency exit, and you can see here the fire extinguishers are there. So these are all basic things, because you never know accident. Accident takes place without any previous warning. Accident doesn't tell that I'm going to take place at 3 o'clock. So it takes place without any previous warning. So laboratory should be prepared. If any casualty happens, what should be there? That I think we are going to cover in our next few slides. Now, floor spaces that I already mentioned you. Then laboratory should be with lighting. Yes, there should be enough lighting and ventilation. And then, the air. It is very important that the air which you are getting, should be, because if too much humidity is there, again, it is going to create a problem. For example, we will cover later on the TLC, thin layer chromatography. It is mentioned that if TLC, thin layer chromatography, is done at high humidity, when humidity is very high, you get a different results. You get a different RF value. So that is why the temperature and humidity of the laboratory should be the same. And that is why, this is shown for you to how to maintain the temperature, and you have to record it, whether the temperature of the laboratory and the humidity is throughout the day and throughout the week, throughout the month, it is same or not. So during working condition, when you are off, that is when you go and you close the laboratory, then it is not required. But when you are working, when you are performing an experiment, then the temperature and humidity should always be the same. Because if there is a difference in temperature, difference in humidity, the results vary. So that is why it is very important we say environmental quality control. Secondly, air conditioning. And now we have a AHU. If you have a good laboratory, then you have a air handling units where you control the microbial load also. So that we are going to discuss later on when we have a separate, microbiological laboratory, how to design the microbiological laboratory. Now, here, it is very important, that we should have a provision for consumables, chemicals, reagents, and specimen. Chemicals and reagents, you all know that. Secondly, whatever chemicals and reagents we are using, you should be analytical grade. You cannot, there are laboratory grade chemicals. When you buy chemical, it is mentioned whether it is AR, LR, or GR. So for the HPLC, there are different grade chemicals. And consumables, as you all know, it can be glasswares also, and glasswares should be calibrated. For example, we can have a beakers, we can have a measuring cylinder, but that measuring cylinder should be calibrated. You should have one measuring cylinder that should we call it a standard, this thing, that it is, taken as a standard. And whenever you buy a new measuring cylinder, that should match with that. So that is why you do the standardization. And that is why it is very do the calibration. And if you don't do the calibration properly, then you may say that 30 ml, but how you say it is 30 ml, I will give you one example. When I did my PhD, my PhD was on the conversion of cellulose to sugar through enzymes. The cellulose, it is a beta-1,4 linkage, glucose units joined together to cellobiose and cellobiose to cellulose. So the what paper you are getting is cellulose. So my PhD examiner just asked me how you made it sure that this is cellulose. So whether you tested that this cellulose or not. The same way we have to, whatever we are using, we should be very, very sure that pipette or beakers or this thing, whatever measures they say, whatever weights are there, whether these are being calibrated or not. And it is by the third party. It is not that you say that I have calibrated. It has to be calibrated by the third party. And then the specimens, whatever specimens you have, that should be kept. That these are the specimens, and these are the what you call the standard specimens, genuine specimens. And if you are getting some adulterate, for example, Barbaris, I will give you a very good example. Barbaris equifolium and Hydroxys canadensis. Barbaris is about 400 rupees kg. Barbaris equifolium is 2000 rupees kg, and Hydroxys canadensis is 50,000 rupees kg. If you see the measuring chair, I tell you, last week I had been to the CCRH conference. I gave you the example. If you take the measuring chair, the lambda max value of the three, all the three are same. But it is only the raw material specimen if you have. Then you can identify that this is Barbaris vulgaris, this is Barbaris equifolium, and this is Hydroxys. Because Hydroxys canadensis look like it is known as golden seal. It shines like gold. And Barbaris vulgaris equifolium, you have the bark. And secondly, Barbaris vulgaris, as I told you earlier, the microscope, when you see the microscopically, you get a lot of the crystals in that. Raw material crystals are there. And that crystals are not there in equifolium. So how the specimens and how the microscopic the photographs, that helps you, not only you, the whosoever comes after you, or whosoever students want to learn, they can you can tell them that these are the ways how to identify. So laboratory purpose is that how we can set up a laboratory, how we can justify that whatever work is being given to us, whatever work has been assigned to us, we are doing it honestly and doing some justification. Next, yes. The consumables, sufficient floor space shelving must be available to house consumables and regions. As you can see, these are the shelves where we have some glassware, some chemicals, and other thing. And secondly, it is very important, that glasswares and especially corrosive chemicals should not be kept on the high, shelf, because if it falls, it will get problem. So that is why acids and this thing, they are kept at the top of the your table nearby, where, and then we have a list of hazardous chemicals also. So you have to separate from, for example, in our home also, you see if the sugar and the salt, if it is grinded sugar, so you cannot differentiate between the salt and the thing. That is why ladies are very clever. They just write down sugar and then write the salt. So otherwise, if we enter and we try to do some good work, so we end up in the bad work because we do not know what is what. So we mix up. So that is why it is very important, so how to keep them, how to label them. Labeling is also very important, and then how to, every chemical should have, the data, ki kaun sa hazardous hai, kaun sa kya hai, and then there is a, I will show you few other slides, how to separate the different chemicals categorize. Now, the special solution, yes, you can see here, available hazardous reagents, chemicals such as those are flammable, oxidizing, and corrosive properties. Nitric acid, you see, it is very fuming, fumes are there. It is corrosive. So you have to keep in such a way that, it does not cause problem to the person who are using. Because after all, we have a laboratory, attendants also, assistants also, and the analysts also. Analysts understand each and everything, but the attendants, they do not understand the problem. So it is very important to tell them, to teach them which chemical is hazardous, how to handle it. So these are all the basic training. As I told you earlier, that there should be a regular training. So that helps the every staff to handle the chemicals properly. Now these are the specimens, as I told you, that a specimen should be properly labeled. You have to label it properly, and then you should label in such a way that there is no, if you have a wet hand, it may not spoil the labels. So you can put some, sellotape, something like that. And if they are wet preserved, the FAA is there, formulated acetic alcohol, and sometimes when it's dry, you put the naphthalene balls. So these are the ways to storage of a specimen raw material, and you can have, you can animals also you can store. It is not a big thing. This is, as I want to tell you, the safety consideration. Laboratory procedure must be site-specific based on your laboratory needs. Safety systems are dictated by the needs assessment and must comply with government regulations and applicable building regulations. So this is very important. Next, you will find is very important, safety system. These are very important, You see that you should have a proper dress code in the laboratory. Why you put apron? Suppose if anything falls, it will not spoil your clothes. At least apron will take care of this thing. Then you have, the different, material to save your skirt. You have this thing, how to clean your hands. And these are displays. And these displays are not, it is not like a calendar. You just, you don't see the good faces. But how to have a proper safety measures that shows, so that every laboratory should have such posters, so that and while going and coming, you can watch and you can, you can educate yourself. Not only educate yourself, you have to educate your staff also. Then PPE, the personal protective equipments. So how the equipments, this thing there, how to tie your hair. You cannot have, you cannot have a comb and, comb your hair in your laboratory. And you have safety glasses, you have a gloves and the lab coat. So these are the basic things, This is called we call it a decorum of the laboratory. Then caution, you cannot smoke in the laboratory, you cannot drink in the laboratory, you cannot have a food in the laboratory, because anything which falls there, it causes contamination. So, and not only contamination, maybe that on the table, some carcinogenic chemicals, some hazardous chemicals are present. So that also, may spoil your food. You got a very good food from your home. Your mother or your parents have cooked a good food for you. But, some hazardous chemicals fall on that, or some gases, enter into your food, that will get a problem. So that is why it is a general rule that no food or drinks in the lab. Then procedures for handling chemicals, MSDS is very important. That it is, you see, next slide, metal data safety sheets. It is the basic, any chemical which you buy, you should have a material data safety sheets required for each chemical, must be easily accessible. And every person whoever is working must go through this thing. So use label of MSDS, never test by taste. It is not your home that you are testing whether it is a salt or it is a sugar, or it is a haldi or it is a mirchi. So nothing like that. Here, you never know which chemical is very hazardous. So that is why don't have a habit of, tasting by taste, this thing, and never pour acids poured into water, never vice versa. So if you have because if you put it in the water, it gets diluted. But if you put water into the acid, there is, you can see what will happen. There will be a lot of gases will be there. So take precautions and use proper equipment when stirring or heating flammable. And secondly, never suck with your mouth, pipette. Always you should have a bulb. So these are the basic things, that you will go through all these things. And if you have any question, I think I will be more happy if you ask the question. So these are the basic things. Then you have a fume hood. This fume hood is very important because a lot of fumes are generated when when you do any chemical reaction, or when you use any chemical, for example, nitric acid, when you use, the TLC, a lot of agents, a lot of reagents, they create a lot of fume. So that may spoil, or, they may contaminate the air. That is why there is a fumigation hood. So whatever you open, it goes outside, the laboratory. You can see the working of this thing, how it works. There is airflow, and duct is there, and duct usually goes outside this thing. But again, it is very important that the duct, whenever it goes outside, how we sometimes, that gases are put into the water, so that it directly does not, contaminate the air, because it is the responsibility of ours is that we do not contaminate the air also. So the exhaust system and how do you throw the gaseous air, the contaminated air, that is also the responsibility of the laboratory. The safety system, the fire safety is very important. Then there should be, common drill that one should know what happened. We say, I have seen the educated people, There was a fire, in a scooter, petrol, they're putting water. So where to use water, where to use sand, where to use carbon dioxide cylinder, what measures you have to follow for what type of fire. That is very important. So it is very important, that we should know that that what type of instrument to be used for what. I will tell you my personal example. When I was doing MSc in microbiology, we used to have a plug in a test tube. So somehow, someone came, I just saw, and it got fire with the split lamp. So immediately what I did, with the hand, other hand, I could control that fire. So my examiner was so happy. Otherwise, if had there been, the other student, he would have created, what happened. So that, that confidence showed that examiner that I know how to handle. See, you can do something wrong, but how can you correct yourself? That is very important. So doing wrong is not bad thing, but understanding that you have done wrong and how you correct yourself, that is very important. So laboratory mein, whenever you do any work, laboratory mein to roz naye kaam hote hain. You may do something good, you may something bad, but how bad can be converted into good and how you are, handling, that is very important. So it is not that, it is never that accident has never taken place in the laboratory. It always takes place daily. Kuch na kuch hota hai. But it is out of your learning that you try to develop a laboratory with a good laboratory practices. Now these are the showers, these are safety systems. That water showers and eye wash stations shall be installed appropriate places in the laboratory. So maybe that, small laboratories may not be having, but usually the big laboratories, it is mandatory that if you want to go for GLP, then you should have all these basic facilities. Then report all accidents, incidents, spills immediately. If there is any accident or incident happens and it spills, the right side you have seen the absorption sheets are there. So because, if something falls, the other person, may skid and may, fall. So that is why if you have anything fall on the floor, there are absorption sheets are there now. So you can have, that will absorb all the liquid which is on the floor. So these are the basic things, this one should, laboratory should have. And then all these things, make your laboratory ideal laboratory. Now first aid kit is very important. That should be, it is first aid kit should not be, that it was purchased in 1970. It is working until 2024. So first aid kit has got, even all the medicines and you can see Savlon, it has a, the shelf life. So it should be regularly checked. And if it is expired, you should replace it. Sometimes I have seen that the Band-Aid is there, but Band-Aid, there is no glue. So that is very important, all these things to understand. And, today you are all students, tomorrow you may become in charge. Tomorrow you may become, the controlling authority. So here, the purpose of Dr. Kant is not that, that you should know each and everything, but you should have a message. He wants to give you a message that suppose tomorrow you become in charge, you become officer, you become, responsible person, then how you can handle your staff. So he has a very big vision. Your principal and Dr. Kant has got a very big vision. He wants to give you exposure that how best you can handle and how best you can guide to the students and to the staff. So that is, I think, his main role. Now, waste management. Waste management is very important. Enough floor space, this thing there. Whatever waste is there, how you dispose it of. Today, देखिए हमारे your PM is also, so much saying Swachh Bharat. So it is not that you can throw anything. You go to airport, you go to this thing. The wet material is kept. There are separate places to throw the wet, dry food and all that thing. So and then there is you all know that there is the Central Pollution Control Board, CPCB. And CPCB is there, and then the state Pollution Control Board is there. So they have also laid down how to throw your waste in a proper way, so that there is no pollution. So these are all the basic things. These are the waste management. That is environmental waste are there. As I have told you here, that it is mentioned that Central Pollution Control Board is there. In 2016, they developed certain methodology, and they have updated. Again twice or thrice they have updated. So CPCB is there. what I want to say here, that whenever you become in charge, or when you have a responsibility, that you have to see how the laboratory works, then you can take the help up. It is not that everything should know on your tips, but you should know that waste management, where you have to go. For waste management, your mind should click, yes, CPCB is there, the CBCB guidelines are there. And your Google Baba is there. Google Baba can tell you all the things. So these basic things one should understand, and that gives the guidelines, basically. And the purpose of these things is to just educate you, to make you informative, make you educative. These are the laboratory equipments. These fire extinguishers are there, burettes, all these things. So these are all the basic equipments that you have seen, thermometer, microscope. There is nothing like this thing. Laboratory equipment, that shall be furnished with all types of necessary equipment. The analytical instrument shall be housed in dust-free, controlled environment. That all, you can see the instruments, bench surrounding this thing, equipment, instrument giving analysis this thing. The maintenance equipment. Maintenance is very important. It is that, you buy a instrument, but there is no maintenance. So then, then because if it is not maintained, it is not calibrated. It is something like that. You buy a AquaGuard water purifier, and you do not have a MC. So I have seen that, people do not have the total solid, of the water is very high. You have to change, you have to have MC so that they properly clean it. They properly change, the, what you call the filters. They have filters. So they change the filters. So these are the basic things, I have seen people are using, yes, I have got AquaGuard. कब लिया था साहब? 4 साल पहले लिया था. बाद में कुछ हुआ है, बोले नहीं चल रहा, ठीक चल रहा है. So ठीक चलेगा ही. You can't see, but if you see the total solids, it becomes very high. So that is why every 3 months or 6 months you have to change the filters. And the AMC people will come. They will see the quality of water. And accordingly they will see this thing. The same way, when we buy instrument for this thing, it is very important that, because when you buy instrument, you have a basically performance qualification. Will come later on. There is a operational qualification, performance qualification. So that is very important. So initially, what you have worked, whether that instrument is working in the same way or not, that we'll see in the next few slides. These are the laboratory equipment. You see, design qualification. Whenever you buy equipment, first of all, you see whether it fits in that. For example, you have a very small, kitchen, and fortunately, you got a gift of a refrigerator which is a very big size. So it doesn't fit in. So it becomes a headache. So you have to see whether you need a 180-liter fridge, 200 liter, 300 liter, 500 liter. It is not that you got something free मिल गया तो आपने fridge खरीद लिया. But where to keep it? It is not an elephant. So that is why it is very important to find out whether it fits in design qualification, whether it helps you. It can work in your kitchen. You cannot keep the fridge in the drawing room, no? So that is why it is important. That is called design qualification. Then installation qualification. Whether it is installed properly or not. When you buy, then we see whether there is some electrical point there or not. Then you see whether it is working or not. At what temperature? ऐसा नहीं कि पूछता, because everywhere you are getting frozen things. So there is a frozen chamber. Then there is a low chamber. Then there is a place to keep vegetables. So that is called the installation qualification. Then you see the operational qualification, whether it is operating properly or not. And then you see the performance qualification, whether it is performing or not. So these are the basic things. Where any instrument you buy, you have to find out the basically design qualification, installation qualification, operational qualification, and performance qualification. If you know all these things, and if you even know some idea, the best example I tell you, the same thing. That fridge, if it doesn't fit in your kitchen, you cannot keep it in this thing. So same way, then you have to find out what is your requirement, how much freezer you need. You are taking a freezer of big size and you have nothing to keep it there. So it is better to keep a place where you have more vegetables. So that vegetable section should be bigger than the freezer section. So that is all very important. Then normally we need to keep some water bottles. So whether there is a space in the door to keep the water bottles or not. So these are the basic things. What requirement? There are certain persons who require to keep more, the red wine. There are certain persons they make it to keep more beer. So the requirement of every person varies. So that is why it is very important to know for what purpose you want a fridge. Whether you want to keep fridge for, you don't want to buy a fridge to keep it is not a almirah to keep your clothes or your almirah to keep your shoes. You want to keep something to remain it fresh. So whether your requirement is more for your vegetables or frozen food, because Indian, we take a lot of, fresh vegetables. In Europe and others, they take a lot of frozen. So they need more frozen space than the normal space. So we need more, cold water. So you should have enough space, in your door that we can keep at least 4 or 5 bottles. So that is very important. These are a simple example. Same way, the instruments, we have to think it in that direction. Now, maintenance, calibration, validation, as I told you, is very important. How we have the instruments, how we calibrate it, and how to validate. Because if it is not validation, then it doesn't work. So this is just the thing. These are audit. As I told you, audit is very important. As you are in colleges, there are audits. Whether the Khan Sahab, is very sharp. He knows whether the staff is teaching properly or not. So he gives the audits, and he knows what is going on. He has got third eye, like Shiva. So that is why in any laboratory, there should be the internal audits and the external audits. And these are the standard operating procedure. The SOPs are there. Then there are standard testing procedures are there. As we have SOPs, for example, if you can see the homeopathy for all, this issue, we published one article on a standard operating procedure. I think if you do not have, I will ask someone to give it to Dr. Khan Sahab. He can see homeopathy for all. Very good article that will help you students to understand what is SOP. The same way, we have a standard testing procedure. So I think we are writing one article soon on STP also. It is a big article. We will be writing and we will share with Dr. Khan soon. So how to test? Because why we have a standard testing procedure? The purpose is that any person whosoever works, whosoever tests, will follow the same thing. It is not that, for example, when in a house, when you make vegetable, for example, beans, you ask 3 ladies to cut the beans, the size of the beans will be different. So the same way, if you want to have the same, same size, same type of vegetable, then you should have a standard testing procedure. How to cut the beans. For example, लौकी काटोगे अलग-अलग काटेंगे, कोई लंबा काटेगा, गोल काटेगा, कुछ करेगा. So the same way, it is very important that if there is a standard testing procedure, then the testing will not, vary. The results will not vary. And what is important is that there should be variation in the result. And because variation takes place, because persons, different persons work at different time. So the role of STP is whosoever works, because laboratory will remain. The persons are coming and going. So there, if you have a STP, then the result will not vary. So that is why this STP is very, very important. And that is why it is the reference material. It is very important that you should have a reference material. Then only you can test properly. Then the schedule M1 clearly says about, the quality control division. It should have the responsibility that you can see from, Russian Cosmic Act. These are the equipments which one should have. I will be more happy, these are the raw material testing plant origin. You can see the mother tincture parameters. These are the parameters. These are the dilutions parameters. These are the instruments which are used. I will be more happy, if the students ask a question, and I will be happy to answer their queries. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Thank you very much, sir. We have a few questions.
Yeah. My pleasure.
Yes. First question is that, is there any regulatory body open and get laboratory license?
Pardon?
Is there any regulatory body or licensing authority which can give license to open this laboratory?
Yeah. Every state has got a drug control department, the drug controller. So they have a power to give you the certificate to open. That is called PTL, Public Drug Testing Laboratory, DTL.
Sir, is that specified for allopathic drugs alone, or is that specific for homeopathy?
Now they have for allopathy separate, and for Ayush they have a separate.
For Ayush in general.
Yeah, okay. For Ayush in general. But for that, especially, you have to tell that you want for homeopathy. So then they will see the provision and they will give you. And government, for example, the government is also promoting the more Ayush laboratories, and they are funding also. I came to know.